Good evening. My name is Elaine McCarron. I'm your co-chair of the EAC. Tonight we're going to be doing an update on the proposed single-use plastic ordinance. At this time, we have 24 municipalities in Pennsylvania that have now passed a single-use plastic ordinance. I have compiled a list of these municipalities, which I did not give in your packet, but the municipalities, the bans in styrofoam, there's 8, including the plastic bags. That's, this is separate. Plastic straws are 11, and plastic utensils are now 2. Our ordinance will be implemented, if it passes, 120 days after the effective date, which we anticipate to be in April 2024. The delayed implementation will allow time for businesses to use up their plastic inventory and allow time for education. That's education for our businesses and for our residents. Businesses will be required to post signage with the EAC, and the EAC has created a sample sign, which you have all received in your package. It has a QR code that will go directly to the frequently asked questions. And you all again receive that in your package, and we would have it on our website for all our residents and businesses. It'll then be 90 days after the effective date, and for 6 months thereafter that this has to be posted. The draft ordinance includes some of the following: a ban on single-use carry-out plastic bags. Plastic straws and utensils will be available only upon request, and that is the ADA rules, American with Disabilities Act. As a matter of fact, what has happened in businesses, it reduced their inventory and reduced their cost. Styrofoam is banned with exceptions for food safety reasons, such for meats and fish, and I'm sure, John, that answers some of your question, if it could be if restaurants can use it. Recyclable paper bags may be provided by the business for a minimal charge of 10 cents. That 10 cents came to us and was asked by specifically Acme, can it be more of 10 cents versus 15 cents? Reusable plastic bags must have stitch handles made of machine or hand washable fabric and sold for a fee set by the business. As you can see, the business will not incur any cost. There is no negative effect to the business for it. And again, as it is a positive. Exceptions will be made for plastic bags used within the store to pack perishable items. And after meeting with over 115 businesses, we decided fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, and we added candy, because at this point, our chocolatier was at our April 3rd meeting, and we had a discussion with him until we find better alternatives. Businesses can request extensions if they have excess bag inventory. In case of violations, businesses will first be given a warning before any violations will be imposed. Following the passage of the ordinance, education will be the priority of our EAC for our residents and our businesses. The EAC will be providing a vendor list for businesses for plastic alternatives and suppliers of recyclable paper bags, and we are compiling it. However, it is here already. This list is from all the other municipalities in Pennsylvania, including New York, including New Jersey, and we have them from all the surrounding states. So we will take this list, compile it for everybody to have. We also we just met with Harvest, and Harvest has their suppliers and is very, very willing. They are already compliant, and they're very, very willing to work with our businesses in town to help us out. For tonight's meeting, I have provided the packages for all the Board of Supervisors, for our Township Manager, Michael Lewis, and our Solicitor, David Sander. Our proposed ordinance has been reviewed by our Solicitor, David Sander. I want to emphasize there is no detrimental effects by our businesses. They will keep the money for the 10 cents, or if they're going to sell a reusable bag. I just want to say, this is a local problem. We have all heard from Penn Environment, All 53 of the waterways, including our local waterways, are loaded with macro and microplastics. It is a national problem, it is a global problem, and I don't want to get into this now, but all, as of 2021, all European nation countries are now participating, now Canada, even Chile, and we're up to 99 countries that have now passed ordinances. 32 have also imposed bag fees of these countries. I want to read, and I won't take much more of your time, but I want to read a very important statement that affects us personally here. A 5-gram light plastic bag is light, but it adds up. Americans use on an average of 365 plastic bags per person per year. Denmark only uses 4. A U.S. town of 25,000, we have approximately 20,000 residents, generates 10 million bags per year at 82 tons of plastic. There is a calculator that has, which I have, which will also be on our website, on how many bags are calculated for Newtown. At this time, it is approximately 7 million plastic bags will come out of the stream that goes into our garbage, into our oceans. That is, and we are only a small town, so could you imagine taking 7 million plastic bags out of our township alone? That plastic bag is less than 5 grams. Your typical grocery store cake or salad holder weighs over 60 grams. Imagine the impact of reducing all that plastic in our environment. And I do want to add, which I have here from Philadelphia, there was a formal study done that it only took 6 months for consumer behavior to change. This was unexpected, and also, and gives percentages. I will also share this for everybody to see this. I want to say one more thing. Upper Marion, which is the King of Prussia Mall, every single store now is participating in their ordinance. They were happy to participate. They are doing bags, straws, styrofoam, but they're also now phasing in utensils. To review our corporations, Mr. Mack asked me this question. I would like to answer him. Which stores said that if we have an ordinance, they will participate? Chipotle, then these are corporate, okay? Chipotle, Acme actually worked with us. Dana Ward, the regional manager, worked with us. Iron Hill Brewery, Solstice, who went out of business. PetSmart stated it's on a corporate level. They're all over New Jersey and other states. They know how to comply. If the ordinance, they told me, if there's an ordinance, we will cooperate. Ace Hardware said the same thing to me. And I want to address Mr. Mack's question about a statement that was made on the April 3rd meeting concerning McCaffrey's and a state band, okay?
Hi, my name is Mary Ann. I'm a Newtown resident. I'm also Vice President of Operations for McCaffrey's. We operate 2 stores in New Jersey who presently have a pretty robust bag ban in place. We also operate a store in Doylestown that recently enacted a bag ban that's going to go into effect in June. Before coming to McCaffrey's, I worked in New Jersey for 35 years and saw the local level towns, municipalities enact bag bans, and then the state enact bag bans. So right now, we have a representative in Pennsylvania, Representative Madden, who does have a draft of a bag ban that he's going to put forward. And I would ask that this township wait, because this bag ban is going to go into effect, hopefully by the end of this year. By enacting this for the businesses, especially the supermarkets in Newtown, you're gonna put us at a competitive disadvantage to the Giant that's just 2 miles away. You're gonna ask the community to come in to us, and for us as a business to tell the shoppers, if you forgot your bag, I'm gonna charge you 10 cents. But if you forget your bag in Giant, you can go there and they're gonna provide you with a bag. So first of all, I would ask that you take that into consideration. And also, because of my experience in the New Jersey stores that recently, just last year, enacted their bag ban, my experience is ban paper bags as well. Don't give us the option to charge people 10 cents because the community blames the cashier. The community thinks it's McCaffrey's that's doing this to them. And it doesn't matter how many signs are up. It's a community that isn't educated and doesn't understand where it's coming from. And it puts us as the bad guy. So ban all bags, and don't put us in a position where we have to ask the senior who's on a limited budget to cough up money because he or she forgot their bags. The other point that I'd like to make is that New Jersey made no provisions for delivery service, and as you know, delivery service is an expanding part of the grocery business, and you have to make provision for how we're going to get groceries to people's homes. So I would ask that get written in. I can answer lots of questions because I have lots of experience with this, but please keep in mind that communities really look to their grocery store as a place to commune with each other, and by forcing people even to if we hide utensils behind the scenes, it bites into people's lunch hour. So I'd really like to work with you guys on this, just because McCaffrey's is absolutely committed to recycling. We have big cans out in our vestibule in our Newtown store, and customers can come and bring their plastic bags to us, and we have a recycler that recycles plastic bags. I'm not asking you to ban, I'm not saying don't go forward, because I think that this is a very important thing for our community and for the world. But I would just ask you to think a little bit about the impact that it's going to have on people who are limited income, and just be a little bit more practical by talking to business that who do have experience with this.
Okay, Farhan Savage from Penn Environment said there was never an ordinance on the state band, on state level, that they said will come up in December. No, it was never discussed. This is a bottom to top grassroots effort, similar in every single state that has done this, all right? Okay, what was it? Oh, and I just want to say Wegmans is opening only a half mile away from McCaffrey's and from Giant. And this was another question that was asked of me. And they have already stated they are not concerned. They are already stated on their website they will be plastic free. So I think this is a non-starter. I don't think their complaint is valid. It was a good question, would they be at loss? But all the municipalities surrounding us, I mean, remember, we're up to 24. Lancaster just passed, and I'm in a plastic coalition. There's over 20 to 30 that are coming down the pike at this point. So does anybody have any questions? Oh, I have one more thing, I'm sorry. I did also, for our website, I do have, it's called a playbook. This is how to teach our stores and how to teach our residents. You know, how to train your employees on how to make the transition. So here it is, and I'll make it available to anybody that's interested. Any questions?
Ms. Snyder?
Can you name the other Class 2 municipalities, please?
Yes, I
that
can.
have
If you can
tax
give me a
base?
second, I will get it out for you. Okay, here it is. I have this for everybody's packet, but I will do it anyway. Solebury Township, Tredyffrin, West Goshen, East Township, Lancaster, just passed, Montgomery Township, Springfield, Upper Marion Township, I can't pronounce this, Uchland Township? Uchland? Sorry, I'm from New York, I don't know how to do this. And White Marsh. I also have your first class, your cities, and your surrounding states in here for everyone to see. Sorry. Any other questions? Thank you.
Good, John. Yeah, I know I asked you a bunch of questions. Thanks for answering some of them. You had a draft ordinance.
Yes, I have it right
And
here.
I wonder, is this something that has to go through the joint zoning council, or is this just Newtown though?
No, it's just Newtown. And I think that question was addressed to Mr. Sander. With all the other townships, it went from the EAC with the Board of Supervisors, and then they had a vote on it.
Right. And
But that's a good question. We can find that out.
I was trying to understand all the details, and I brought in some samples. Of course,
Excellent.
this bag would be prohibited,
This had, right.
but there were some items that you said were not, and like when I go to the Chinese,
Right.
I get this, or I get soup in this. It seems that these are not prohibited.
Okay, they're no less toxic. You know, if you look at them, they can't even be recycled. Most of them are, if you look on the numbers. At this time, that's why I said we have an alternative vendor list. We can only encourage them to do it at
Yeah,
this time.
because that occurred on page 5, if you're interested in looking at it, under
Right.
shall not include, and it lists non-foam polystyrene food services products. So I thought these are what you're talking about?
Right.
Okay.
Right, and just so you know, I did go to all of these restaurants,
And
okay?
did you get food from them?
Yes, and that's why I went to them. And I did try to have a discussion, and I don't want to be negative, but every time I went, they said, we can have a meeting, and then they weren't there. And I tried several times, and I'll still try several times. I will try.
The thing that I'm most interested in is not exactly enforcement, but the temporary exemptions.
Right.
For example, mentioned on page 9 of the draft ordinance, paragraph 10-710A. It said the Board of Supervisors or its designee may, in its own discretion upon written request of a retail establishment, exempt retail establishment, blah, blah, blah.
Should I
I'm
explain
kind of
that?
reluctant to put this on the Board of Supervisors. Why doesn't it go through the zoning hearing board like like a variance? Because you do mention that this would happen if it would cause undue hardship. That's exactly what, when people go to the zoning hearing board about our zoning or whatever, it's causing them undue hardship, and they're trying to make a case, and they go through the whole process. Why wouldn't we to go through the zoning hearing board?
It's a good question. I think that is very valid. And I think if we can work together as a team and talk about it, and see what's the best for our personal.
Well, because this kind of spreads it out.
Mm-hmm.
It may even get the planning commission involved as it is, and the board of supervisors still always have the option of being a party to the case in front of the zoning hearing board. I don't like the idea of some kind of designee being in charge of giving these exemptions, because who knows what goes under the table or behind closed doors, especially the big establishments that have a lot of money at stake. So, you know, I just wanted to, at some point, get that clarified before we,
That's it.
It's a good question. I'm thinking that maybe because it's not a zoning issue per se, that would limit the ability to take it to the zoning hearing board. But I mean, it's a good question.
maybe we have to create a different kind of board, maybe.
This is not
It
for,
seems like a code issue
Yes.
to me.
yes, and this is not for punishment purposes at all. So in other words, people come and ask for an exemption, it's not gonna take us into the weeds to say, yes, you can have an exemption, because 98% of the time, that's exactly what we're gonna say. This, again, it's not to punish people, it's just to slowly get them into the habit of breaking their use of single-use plastic. So it's, it's something that is not, they're not gonna come here and beg us for something that we're not gonna give them. We're going to allow it, and we're gonna help them find an alternative. So that's really what it's all about, the educational process. And it's, again, we're not punishing anybody, we're just trying to help the environment, and nobody is going to be prosecuted for not using the right
Well,
thing.
whatever the process is, I just think it needs to be more clarified, maybe. I'm not sure how to go about doing that, but anyway, I just wanted to bring
No,
that up.
I think it's an excellent question, because we actually spoke about it in the EAC. I do want to tell you that the exemptions were more for the, I went to all these township meetings, and especially the one in Doylestown, this came up, exactly. And this was more product of inventory problems and COVID, and now it doesn't seem to be an issue. It's not coming up in the newer, when we discuss it at a plastic ordinance once a month, there are, right now, I think there's over 50 townships involved in it, and I will actually, that's coming up, I'll bring that question up to them exactly.
That's a good idea to see how other townships are handling
I'll
this.
do that for you and I'll report back.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question in regards to enforcement. And maybe you can go more into detail how other townships do this. But I'm reading where it says the township manager, again, or his, her designee, shall have the primary responsibility for enforcement of this ordinance. What are they supposed to do? Who's supposed to enforce? And how do you prove that there's been a violation?
Right.
Say someone doesn't like a particular establishment, calls the township and says, hey, I seen plastic bags coming out.
Right.
Is that enforcement, or does there have to be some sort of visible proof that
Yes,
something is wrong?
yes. And it's interesting, again, I asked that same question of all these townships, and it's very interesting. They actually designated somebody in the township, in the office. They gave them another title. Most of them did, and so the complaint went to them before it went to the township manager, and it was looked into. So they actually have, I can show you the other, I can share with you the other townships, and I will. They have an enforcement officer, but they have dual titles. So they actually did that, and we've never done anything like this here. So that's an absolute excellent question. And that came up in the EAC as well. So yeah, I will look that up for you. Okay.
My questions were about, I'll give you a chance to write that down.
I'm sorry?
I said I'll give you a chance to write that down.
Oh, I did.
Okay. My question is about the time limits, like the 90-day time limit and the 120-day time limit.
Okay, let me repeat
How
that.
did those get in, those particular time limits get into
From all the other townships. We actually put together, I laid it out in the EAC, in our EAC meeting, all of these ordinances. And with Penn Environment, we are in constant contact with Farron Savitz, and that's how the timing came. They found that over time, people complied. I mean, and so that's where the 120 days came from. The 90 days, what you're looking at, that's only to post this. And this, again, will be the frequently asked questions.
Okay.
And then it's so they can keep up their sign. It's just that they only are required from the 90 days before, it's 120 days, so before that 90 days, before it goes into effect, they have to post it, and then 6 months thereafter. So we can change that too if you find you would like it longer.
I think it's perfect. What we're trying to do is have the same thing in every township, so we're all doing the same thing with the same time limits. That way, it's a blueprint that we all can follow, and any townships that come after can follow. It's a blueprint that we're all trying to do in the same manner.
Right, and what, like I said, what we did is we laid out all the townships. We wanted to see what everybody was doing, because it's not fair for the businesses, it's not fair for consumers. They go to one township, it's one thing. They go to another township, it's another. No, we're actually all consistent, and I would invite you even to listen to the Plastic Coalition. It's being run by 2 townships that have already passed, and everybody's invited to be part of that, but that's where it came from.
Okay. Any other questions?
You go ahead.
I just have one more question in regards, I think you had mentioned that if a company or a business has a large supply, they can go through the process of depleting that supply?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, is there a time limit or I mean, what if, we pass this ordinance and the day before somebody orders like 10,000 plastic bags?
So they order 10,000 plastic bags. I mean, we can't.
No, there's an enforcement.
Yes, but if they can, but this is, we have this discussion back and forth. If they can show us receipts, see, I'll tell you how Doylestown did it also, because it was most recent, okay? Somebody came up and said, I ordered 3 years of blah, and they said, well, there's a reasonable amount of time, okay? We'll give you the year. Okay, that's what they did. But you must show us proof. You can't just state it, because then it's inconsistent.
Well, I'll just give you an example. I know I've been wondering for years why Dunkin' Donuts hasn't phased out their styrofoam cups. On the larger size, the smaller ones are paper cups. Now, I was told, or I read somewhere where they had a period that they were going to go through like a couple years to phase them out nationwide. But if you go into a Dunkin' Donuts, they have a ton of supply in there, and I'm just curious, is there any kind of recourse that you could have against someone? I mean, it's a big corporation, so what could be done in that aspect?
Move their supply somewhere else where there's no ordinance. I mean, there has to be some reasonable time. I think a year, 6 months, a year, I think is reasonable. I can just tell you though, and I've done this, I spoke and went to 115 businesses. Most of them are already complying. I mean, and something like a Dunkin' Donuts, what they do, and I know from Wendy's what they're doing, and Arby's, and they're moving it to other places. They're corporate. So where you have the ordinance, they comply. And they told me, I actually met with Wendy's. And they were up at our meeting as well, and they said, we will comply. You have the ordinance, we'll comply. You know, and you know, initially, you know, there was hesitancy, but they go, oh, well, you know, there's probably, oh, we're gonna go. Where are you going? You're being surrounded by, look what happened in New York, New Jersey, every state from here to Maine. I live also in South Carolina, it's all in South Carolina, you know, and way down, you know, Delaware, you keep going. Everybody has it now, but they have it on the state. It started like us on the grassroots level, and it went to state. So that's what's happening now.
Plastic bags,
Fran Haller, I live in Newtown, Grant. About the single-use plastic, will this take effect for like campaign signs? They're plastic. Your signs were plastic. And so, well, in the future, will it be just, you have to have a cardboard sign? That's, if you're gonna do.
That's an awesome question, and it's something that,
No, usually.
I'm sorry. Something that we only have control over what we do locally, and what, like national or countywide, candidates, we don't have any control over that. And then, in other words, so an ordinance that's, in effect for Newtown Township will not necessarily be in effect for Doylestown Township unless they decide to do the same thing. And nationally, I mean, that's a mess that I can't even begin to think about. But I would hope that everybody from the bottom up gets the idea and understands that we all have to participate, even with campaign signs. And thank you, because that's a really good point.
Just one other point. From reading about this in other areas that did this ban on the plastic bags, there was a lot of theft in grocery stores where people would just walk out with 2 packages of steak. And so, will this be a burden on our businesses like an Acme or McCaffrey's? Somebody standing there at the door, can I see your receipt? Can I see your receipt? Because the person might say, oh, I forgot to bring in my, you know, reusable bag, and just walk out with products.
I understand that question as well. All I can say is, McCaffrey's, Acme, they've done this in other states already that have already passed this. That is not something that they have brought up to us as being a factor. Certainly a question that can be asked, that's for sure, but they've never said we are afraid that this is going to happen. That has never, we've never heard that yet. Okay, I hear you, thank you.
Please state your name and your community.
Sure, my name is Kathy Butler from Newtown, Grant. You mentioned several times single-use or plastic bags. They're not quite single-use. A lot of us residents and homeowners and so forth, we use our bags many, many, many times. And people use them to pick up their dog waste and so forth. And if you go to the store, you're buying a plastic bag for dog waste. So I don't really see, and just for your information, I don't know if you people do know that the recyclable trucks that the trash haulers use go to the same landfill as the trash. They're not going to other places. They're being stored and compacted down with the same trash that we all collect. There is no recyclable.
As a former owner of a recycling business, I can tell you that what you said is 100% correct, especially since countries like China have stopped taking some of the waste that they used to take, like plastics. That's exactly what happens. Recycling is a myth that is perpetuated by oil companies. There is no recycling anymore, I'm sorry to say, except for glass can be recycled, aluminum can be recycled, and pretty much it's very limited after that.
Right.
So yes, you're right.
Okay, thank you.